I look at it this way. Blow it up. We're going to blow the opponents up. There's way too much talent on this team to play the way we've been playing, period. And how hard can you get a guy to play? That's the thing. Like, nobody's seen a team going to play the way as hard as this team's going to play in the future. Trust me, if I'm the guy. Trust me. And that's going to be it. That's what's going to separate me from all these other guys you're going to bring in. You know, your Grudens, your whoever, whatever. Give me a break. They ain't New York Jets. I'm all about the Jets. And the great thing is, all right, yeah, second chance. You get a second chance at it and things like that doesn't happen very often. Yeah, well, when it does, it's usually special. And so we'll find out if I get that chance or not. If not, then, you know, hope they have one hell of a guy in place because I still want to be a fan of the Jets. I still want to be. But, you know, when I look around, I know nobody's better than me.
That was Rex Ryan on this station a couple days ago during his weekly hit on Barton Hahn, campaigning to be the coach once again of the New York Jets. It's the Jake Asman Show right here on ESPN New York and, of course, the ESPN New York app. And joining us right now is someone who played for Rex Ryan when he was the head coach of the New York Jets. Former Jet defensive end, 9-year NFL veteran, Mike DeVito joins us now on the show. Mike, always great to get you on any show I'm hosting. Appreciate you hopping on tonight. How are you?
Oh, Jake, it's so great to be talking with you, man. Thank you so much for having me on.
Absolutely. So you just heard Rex there. I mean, you played for him. You know him as well as anyone. What do you think of the idea of Rex Ryan trying to be the coach of the Jets once again?
Jake, you know, I get goosebumps listening to him because he's exactly right. He is the man for this job. It takes a special person to play in New York. It takes a special person to coach in New York. You have to be built a certain way to be successful in the Big Apple. And he's that guy. I mean, so one thing that I heard from that clip was him saying how nobody will play harder for anybody but him. Like, you're gonna play your heart out for Rex Ryan, and that's exactly the case. I mean, I remember every time I'm taking the field, whether it be practice or be in the weight room or in a game, whatever it is, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, yeah, I'm putting it all in because I know Rex is putting it all out there for us. And that's rare in the NFL, but he's one of those guys that genuinely loves his players and will put his players first. And so you want to go out there and die for a guy like that. And not only that, but he gets the most out of his guys, Jake. I mean, I think of our teams when I was there from, you know, for my 4 years with Rex in New York. And, you know, we had a lot of good players. Obviously, we had Revis, you have Bart Scott, you have, you know, Dave Harris, guys like that. But you also have guys like me who are very, very average players, and yet under Rex's tutelage, not only him teaching us the game and teaching us the ins and outs, which is, you know, incredibly important, but also just like I just said, that intangible, knowing that he's there for us and is going to support us. That, you know, that brings the most out of individual players and the team. And so when you put all of that stuff together, I really do believe he's the perfect guy to be in that position. I thought they shouldn't have gotten rid of him back when they did. So I'm glad his name is in the hat, and I'm going to keep advocating for him because he's an incredible coach, incredible human being, and the NFL is a better place with him in it, and the New York Jets as an organization and a team are a better place with him there.
Former Jet defensive end Mike DeVito, who played 9 years in the NFL, including 6 with the Jets, including 4 with Rex Ryan as his head coach, is with us here on the Jake Asman Show on ESPN New York. So, Mike, I guess the pushback on Rex would be he hasn't coached the Jets since 2014. He hasn't coached in the NFL since 2016. Just your thoughts on how long it's been since he last coached, and just, of course, even how it ended with the Jets, where they were 4-12 his last year there. Then he goes to Buffalo, of course. Just your thoughts on, you know, some of the pushback against potentially hiring Rex as the team's next head coach. This video you're watching is presented by my friends at BetUS. Make BetUS your sports book for any bet you are going to make this football season. And guess what? It's not just football. They have, of course, every sport, including college football, the NBA, the NHL, boxing, UFC, and a whole lot more. Take advantage right now. New customers will receive a 150% sign-up bonus on your first deposit. And that's not all. BetUS is also offering a 125% bonus on your second and third deposit. So once again, make BetUS your official sports book. They have everything. And of course, I want to personally thank BetUS for making this video possible. So once again, take full advantage of a 150% sign-up bonus on your first deposit by heading over to BetUS and make them your official sportsbook. Shout out to BetUS for sponsoring this video.
Yeah, I understand that, but I think it's also important, in one sense, to recognize that Rex's bloodline is coaching football. I mean, that's who he is. That's who his family is. If you listen to his interviews, he recently did a long-form podcast where he talked about, just his upbringing and how coaching football is everything to him. So I don't think him being out of the game since 2016 is, that there's going to be any sort of deficit there, any lack of knowledge. Not only that, but he's been covering the game. He's been around the game. It's not like he went on vacation and is just coming back now. So, Rex Ryan knows football. I mean, you look at his defenses, you look at what he's been able to accomplish. He's a brilliant football mind, brilliant defensive mind, and like I said before, an excellent head coach that guys love and want to be around and want to play for. And so I don't think any of those things all of a sudden lapse because he hasn't coached since 2016. In fact, I think especially when you listen to Rex talk, he's been reflective on his coaching career, and he's talked about the changes he plans on making with the things that he's doing with the stuff with the media and what he says and doesn't say and all that stuff. So I think the time has been good in the sense that he's able to reflect, and now he has a plan in place to fix the things that he might have wanted to change from back when he was coaching. So again, I don't take it to be like I haven't played since 2016. If I was going to come back and play, I would understand the criticism. It's been a long time to be out there on the field. But as a coach, I think I don't see where he would where the time off would be a negative. In fact, like I said, I think it's a positive.
Mike, I'll tell you what, if you could still play, I mean, you'd be an upgrade over what we have seen on this defensive line this year. They can't stop a nosebleed. They could use a Mike DeVito up the middle, stopping the run.
But that's the thing. But so Jake, and Rex talked about this in your opening segment. My goodness, I couldn't hang with. I wouldn't be able to make the practice squad at the Jets when you look at their talent. Right? So it's like, but you're right. But it's not a talent thing. It's just it's a coaching thing. It's a culture thing. It's a philosophy thing. It's a locker room thing. And he's the kind of guy that will get that stuff right and get the most out of those guys. And I've seen him do it.
Mike DeVito with us here, former Jets DE, spent 6 years with the team, of course, 9 years total in the NFL, and now Mike is the director of player development at Maine Football. He's with us here on the Jake Asman Show. Mike, you used the word culture there. I wanted to ask you about that because we keep hearing from people around the Jets, people who cover the Jets, saying that they need to change the culture over there. And Robert Saleh and Joe Douglas, they were supposed to do it. It hasn't worked, and here we go. New GM, a new coach coming in. In your experience, how exactly do you change the culture, especially a culture around the Jets that since you were there, of course, this team hasn't made the playoffs since the 2010 season?
Yeah, that's a great question, Jake. I think that, if you go back and listen to Rex when he talked about when he first got to New York in 2009, some of the key things that he did. And I think one thing when it comes to culture that he did that was so wise and made such a difference was at least on defense, at each level of the defense, he brought in somebody who knew what Rex Ryan wanted from his defense. So he brought in Marquise Douglas. He brought in Jimmy Leonard. He brought in Bart Scott, right? So now you got the D-line, the secondary, and linebackers. So you got three guys that know Rex, that know what he expects, that knows what he's about. He brought those guys in to not only help people learn the defense, but also set the standard, set the culture. This is the expectation. And so I would expect him to do something similar to that, where he's going to go out there and find those guys that he knows, okay, this player embodies what I need, what I want in my locker room. And now the difference being, and maybe this could be an objection that when you think back, being out 10 years, I don't know how many of his defensive guys are still in the league, but that doesn't mean there aren't Rex Ryan type defensive guys in the league. And so what he's going to do on defense and on offense is find those guys at each level that embody what he wants, embody his philosophy, and put them in place to be leaders in that room, in those rooms. And that makes a huge difference because probably the hardest transition, like I've seen this at the college level now, is when a head coach comes in, he can't bring people from where he was at. No, I mean, it's a little bit easier now, but generally speaking, you can't do that. That's not as easy as it is in the league. And so it takes much longer to get everybody accustomed to the new philosophies and new culture. In the NFL, Rex is going to bring in the guys that he knows, again, set the standard and set what he wants. And that, I mean, that skips 10, you're 10 steps ahead when you do that. And so there'll be a number of other things, but I think that's the primary key when it comes to changing the culture, and Rex knows how to do that very well.
Mike DeVito with us here on the Jake Asman Show, talking with Mike, of course, who played 6 years with the Jets, including 4 with Rex Ryan as his head coach, after Rex came out on this very radio station this week and said he wants to be the Jet coach once again. Mike, let me ask you just about, Rex Ryan's ability to maybe hire, a competent offensive coaching staff, because the knock on Rex towards the end was he cared too much about the defense and the offense slipped. Do you think Rex would be able to hire, the right offensive coordinator who can run a modern offense in today's game?
Oh, I really believe that. And again, I would imagine if you talk to Rex, this is something he's reevaluated, and he's a student of the game. So he's seen the way the game has evolved. And knowing Rex, I know he's going to say, okay, just like you said, Jake, he's going to want to put somebody in place that is up to date, that he can trust to run the offense. And what the beauty of it is, people love Rex. Players, coaches, you want to be in that building. When I was there, like no other time in my career, I could remember being so excited to go to work. And I had great years. I had excellent years in Kansas City. I had a great time with Mangini before Rex got there in New York. But there's nothing like being a part of a Rex Ryan run organization. And coaches want to be a part of it, and players want to be a part of it. So I just think his persona, his rapport, his resume, that will attract good people to that position. And I would imagine, again, that Rex has reevaluated his time in the league from before and said, okay, this is clearly a spot that I need to get right, and he's going to get it right.
Mike, can you believe it's been 14 seasons since the Jets have made the playoffs? I mean, it's just even saying that out loud, it's crazy. And then you look at the Jets this year, the bare minimum, I figured, all right, at least the playoff drought would be over. And now here we are in November talking about a team that's 3-8 with a new GM and new coach coming in.
Yeah, Jake, it boggles my mind because Saleh, I don't know Saleh especially like I know Rex, but he seemed to be like a Rex Ryan type guy, like a hard-nosed, blue-collar, players love him type thing. And same thing with Joe Douglas. I mean, both of those guys seem to fit the mold. And then one thing I think when you look at the history of Jets football, at least over the past however many years, one thing that I think that they've slipped on that I thought they had corrected was the quarterback position, and not so much talent, but the mental aspect of it. So all my Jets, my Jets faithful know that I can't stand the Giants, but I got to give, one thing I like about Eli Manning is not just his play on the field, but he was able to be a consistent quarterback in the New York market for a long period of time, and that's friggin' hard. You have to have a certain temperament. You have to have a certain, like Rex says, skin like an armadillo. Like you have to be a tough person to play quarterback in New York City. And I thought we had that, and it's not that it's not that Rodgers isn't that, but just for whatever reason, again, I'm not in that locker room. It looked like all the right pieces were in place, and I don't know what happened, but clearly that wasn't the case. But that said, I really have faith and trust that Rex can right the ship.
Mike, you obviously were a Jet for 6 years, 2 different coaches, and Woody Johnson, of course, owned the team when you played for the Jets. A lot of stories out this week about Woody meddling and being involved in personnel moves. In your experience with the Jets, did you ever hear anything about ownership getting involved? Did you have any insight into some of the things that are being reported now that Woody's done?
Jake, I can honestly say this. I had never heard that. In fact, it was, if there was any criticism, it was the opposite. It was more like Woody wasn't involved enough. Like it almost like Woody would show up, airplane would, or the helicopter would come in, he would show up, say hi, and then leave. So that was the total opposite from my experience when I was there. Now, I haven't been there since 2012. So things could have changed, and I would imagine if you pay big money for a quarterback like Rodgers and things aren't going well, maybe he has gotten more involved. But so I can't say that wasn't my experience with Woody. It didn't seem like he got involved much at all. But that, not saying that this is the Jets, but it just seems the track record of owners getting involved with operation stuff never goes well, And so if Woody is, I'm sure, whoever he hires or whatever happens there, you would think that he would evaluate that and back off if he is, to let those guys, because that's what you hire those guys, right? To let them do what they need to do. So, but yeah, again, going back to my experience, that wasn't the case with Woody when I was there.
It's the Jake Asman Show. It's ESPN New York, 8:80 a.m., ESPN New York app. We're talking with former Jet defensive end Mike DeVito, who, of course, played under Eric Mangini and Rex Ryan after Rex came out on this radio station this week and campaigned to be the Jet head coach once again. Mike, I know you're involved at Maine football now, director of player development up there, but if Rex does get this job and he wants Mike DeVito to be a part of his coaching staff, would you consider it?
Jake, I'm on the next flight down. Don't tell my wife. But I'll tell you what, I sent him a text. This was a few years ago, but I sent him a text because I was thinking about it, and I just said, hey, if you ever coach again, I'll be the janitor. Like, whatever you need, I want to be a part of that organization. Because, I mean, he just is that special of a human being that you just want to be around him. So, heck yes, if he needs anything. Now, New York has Dave Zott as their director of player development. He's the gold standard there. So I wouldn't have a job at that level, but certainly, I mean, I'll work in the cafeteria to be around Rex and what they're doing over there.
I love that, Mike. You were one of my favorite Jets. I mean, what a story your career was, finding your way on the roster and obviously playing 9 years in the league. So I think every Jet fan that hears my voice right now would love Mike DeVito to be involved with the Jet organization again. So thanks so much for a couple minutes tonight. Really appreciate your insight.
Jake, that means a lot, brother. Thank you for having me on. Great talking to you.